頼み申す。卒しながら冥府はいず外道が笑えば神がなく諸行に拉致なく沙汰あれば魔道の始末を請負いたす。我は義道の三品死道死に花無用の仕事。
穴からマジで来い。
さようなら。
Baiken! Baiken is an aggressive mid-range footsie character who excels in mixing up her opponents and setting up big damage with a huge variety of combo tools and meter options. As a Baiken player, you're meant to turn your opponent's strength against them and keep them guessing which angle you're going to attack from, but with a huge amount of tools comes a steep learning curve, so be sure to take the time to become well acquainted with your options, for once you do, you'll be able to cut down your opponent with relative ease. Baiken is a medium-sized humanoid character, and while she might stand at a hunched angle, she measures up to characters like Peach and Link. Hailing from the Guilty Gear series, Baiken will be carrying many of her home franchise's core aspects over into Smash Bros., with one of her most notable aspects being her ability to perform an air dash by double-tapping the analog stick either forwards or backwards. This movement can greatly improve Baiken's ability to either engage or escape from an interaction, as well as creating an extra horizontal recovery option. But do keep in mind that Baiken can only perform an air dash on her first jump, with the dash itself eating the second jump. On top of an air dash, Baiken also brings along the fighting game staple of always facing her opponent straight on, which means it'll be quite difficult to cross her up, especially when going against her meaty normals. However, while these aspects are nice, the major mechanic from Guilty Gear that Baiken brings along with her to Smash Bros. Is the series' tension gauge. This gauge might seem a lot like the basic super mirrors you've seen in fighting games before, but in Guilty Gear, things work a bit differently. For starters, the tension gauge will not only increase by either dealing or taking damage, but will also increase as the player moves towards their opponent. This not only urges the player to stay on the offensive and play an active game, but this also helps them avoid another effect of the tension gauge, one that can happen if the player chooses to either not approach or actively run away. Negative penalty. If the player refuses to advance towards their opponent for more than 3 seconds, they will be given a warning, and if the player chooses to continue their choice of actions by the time it becomes 6 seconds, they will be given a negative penalty and have all of their accumulated meter removed immediately. Once a warning is active, the player will need to actively move towards and attack their foe for 2 seconds before the warning disappears. So it's best to take advantage of the tools you're given and go on the offensive. Also, it wouldn't be a Baiken video if I didn't draw attention to the fact that she has one of the greatest walk cycles of any fighting game character ever. That's it, I just wanted to show you that. In terms of mobility options, Baiken has 2 jumps, along with a wall jump and the aforementioned air dash. While the tension gauge is an intricate character system unlike anything seen in Smash as of right now, it isn't what I'd consider Baiken's character mechanic. No, instead it's what you can do with the gauge that makes up this important part of Baiken's character structure, the staple utility option of the Guilty Gear series that any character can perform, but only the most weathered can use it to the best of its ability. Roman canceling. Roman cancels, or RC as it tends to be referred to by fans, allows for players to cancel the ending leg of their attack for a variety of purposes, from extending combos to applying pressure to even making moves that were once considered dangerous on block completely safe. This effect can be seen by the large glowing flash that appears around the character, all while the screen around them darkens considerably for a split second. In total, there are 4 different ways Baiken can perform a Roman cancel, with each version being color-coded to help both the Baiken player and her opponent understand her attack options, these being blue, yellow, purple, and red. Blue Roman cancels can only be performed while Baiken isn't attacking, better known as the neutral. This form of Roman cancel will greatly slow down opponents in its area of effect, allowing for Baiken to punish incoming attacks with one of her own. But overall, this version of Roman cancel is the most situational. Yellow Roman cancels can only be performed while blocking an attack, which will create a shockwave to knock the opponent back on contact. If the player is fast enough, they can potentially follow up this move with a hit confirm, but it must be very precise. Finally, there's purple and red Roman cancels, these being the Roman cancels associated with attacking your opponent directly. Purple Roman cancels will occur when the player attacks while their opponent isn't in hit stun or block stun, this flash slowing down opponents in its area of effect and allowing for Baiken to immediately follow up with another attack. This can happen if you RC before you hit your opponent, RC too late after hitting your opponent, or simply attack and fail to hit anything. Finally, red Roman cancels will occur when you perform an RC as your opponent is stuck in block stun or hit stun, and unique to Strive, this is the first RC with its own hitbox. Upon activation, red RC will knock your opponent off the ground and have them slowly float up into the air, and while it doesn't do any initial damage, they're put in the prime position for another hit confirm, possibly even one that isn't normally a safe combo option. Overall, each Roman cancel has their own place in Baiken's game plan, and in order to perform a Roman cancel, the player must input shield and B at the same time while they have at least 50% of their tension gauge filled. As amazing as the Roman cancel can be, the tension gauge can be used to perform different abilities if you have the resources to spare, but I'll discuss that more when we get to Baiken's specials. For now, let's move on to her normals and discuss the attacks that can take advantage of Roman canceling. At its core, Guilty Gear is a 5-button game, with 4 main attack buttons and an additional dust button that can work in tandem with these basic attacks. As a result, Baiken has plenty of attacks to pick from throughout the Guilty Gear series, although, like her appearance, a majority of her attacks are based on moves from Exard and Strive. Baiken's neutral combo is a combination of 3 of her standing attacks from Guilty Gear, these being Standing Punch, Standing Kick, and Standing Slash. Before Strive, these attacks can naturally combo into each other thanks to the series' combo up button order, and here in Smash, this string's reliable damage output makes it quite useful to set up a Roman cancel combo. Baiken's forward tilt is her standing heavy slash, this long-range katana strike hitting both in front of and above Baiken as she attacks, and being one of her best poke tools thanks to its combo potential. Also, thanks to its nullable disjoint, this move is quite difficult to trade with unless the opponent is standing directly next to Baiken, and if they're that close, there's far better buttons the Baiken player can be pushing. Baiken's up tilt is her forward punch, a command normal that acts as a high-hitting uppercut punch and Baiken's most reliable anti-air option. During the first 3 frames of the attack, Baiken will be invulnerable from her waist up, but between frames 4 and 13, she'll be invulnerable from the knees up, making it quite difficult for anyone to get the drop on her from above. However, this move's rather short range and slow recovery keep it from being a reliable neutral tool, so be sure to only use it when you either have an opponent in the air or you have enough meter to Roman cancel. Baiken's down tilt is her crouching slash, a long-range poke option that will have Baiken attack with one of her arm's hidden weapons, this being a mace attached to a chain. This move's range and speed are slightly above that of her forward tilt, and can even be cancelled either on block or on hit into one of her special moves to make it reasonably safe. But be sure to try and not whiff it, as the move has a decently long recovery animation. Baiken's dash attack is her blitz charge attack from Exard Rev 2, which will have her rush forward and perform a very powerful vertical slash to launch her foe away. While this is a move that's rarely seen in Guilty Gear Exard since she has objectively better options, this attack will be armored on startup, allowing for Baiken to eat a single hit as she barrels either towards or through her opponent to confirm a kill with this move's fairly high knockback growth. Just be sure to keep in mind that this move's recovery is very slow and very unsafe, but if you have enough meter for a Roman cancel, nothing is unsafe. For her get-up attacks, Baiken will perform either a spinning kick or a spinning slash with her blade, all while attacking with an overhead mace strike for her ledge attack. Baiken's smash attacks are some of her more powerful attack options from Guilty Gear, much like Ryu, Terry, and Kazuya use some of their more powerful normals. And like those 3, Baiken's moves will be locked into only covering a single side, while also being potential combo tools thanks to her access to RC. However, Baiken offers something that none of the other fighting game characters do, a sword, and by extent, far more range. Baiken's forward smash is her forward standing heavy slash, a powerful vertical slash that will launch foes away with a serious amount of oomph. In Guilty Gear, this is often seen as Baiken's most powerful normal attack, and on top of its damage and range, this move can cut through shields quite effectively, and even if you miss or get blocked, this move's reasonably quick recovery animation mixed with access to RC makes it a fairly safe attack to use in the neutral. Just try to not be too predictable with it, as this move can still lose to jabs both on startup and on the recovery. Baiken's up smash is Dust, one of Guilty Gear's other staple abilities fused into a single move. With this, Baiken will release a Ki Blast in front of her, covering a solid range and launching the opponent up into the air upon contact. While it's designated as her up smash, this move's hitbox is barely above Baiken's head, so its ability to challenge platforms or catch opponents above Baiken is quite poor. But as a payoff, this move charges 1.5 times faster than other smash attacks. Why does it get such a bonus? Simple, because Dust has a unique effect that can only be accessed if the move is fully charged, and that's the fact that Baiken is capable of jump canceling this move to chase her opponent up into the air. In Guilty Gear, Dust is a special launcher that will allow for each character to perform a unique aerial combo before sending their opponent back towards the ground. This being signified by a small cutscene that will play as the player's character transitions from the ground to the air. In Smash, this functions the exact same, with a cutscene even playing in one-on-one matches much like Kazuya's throws. But as a downside, this move's knockback growth is very poor, meaning that the chances of landing a killing blow with this move is very rare, even at higher percents. Finally, Baiken's down smash is her crouching heavy slash, an advancing low poke with a huge hitbox and one of Baiken's best RC confirms thanks to its range. Baiken will move forward as she attacks, so while useful, it could be considered risky if you don't have the mirror to either follow up or bypass the move's long recovery time. But if it lands, it's an incredibly powerful kill confirm that can even snipe an opponent's attempts to recover thanks to its very low hitbox. As you might have guessed from the description of Dust, the characters of Guilty Gear are no stranger to taking the fight to the skies, even if it might not always be a good idea against certain characters. Regardless, with a 5-button layout, Baiken has just enough aerial attacks to cover a full aerial moveset layout, and they're designed to challenge jump-ins and confirm cross-ups, which is nice, as one of Baiken's primary weaknesses in Guilty Gear is her lack of a reliable anti-air option. Baiken's neutral air is her jumping punch, a very fast but short-range attack that can link into itself multiple times in a single jump. Normally, if you've got space between you and your opponent, you'll want to go for an option with more range, but if you're too close to your opponent for these options to be safe, this is your go-to aerial attack, and thanks to its very quick recovery speed, you can even use this as a safe landing option. Baiken's forward air is her jumping slash, a long-range strike using her mace that's often considered one of Baiken's best air options thanks to its speed, range, and ability to link into other aerial attacks. Here in Smash, this attack can be used as a reliable landing option while also serving as a great fast fall hit confirm into a grounded combo, but try to keep in mind that despite its appearance, this move is not disjointed, so it might end up training more than you want it to. Baiken's up air is her jumping kick, a high-hitting attack that can allow for Baiken to challenge platforms or catch an opponent trying to land. Thanks to its relatively quick startup speed, this attack potentially can link into itself at lower percents, but this move's relatively average knockback growth means it's not going to be confirming kills unless your opponent is at very high percent. Baiken's back air is her jumping dust, a powerful cannon blast that serves as one of Baiken's best kill confirms thanks to its blend of speed, range, and power. In Guilty Gear, this is one of Baiken's most dangerous anti-air options thanks to its ability to set up wall bounce combos. And in Strive, it's an ideal way to either set up or confirm a wall break. But since there's no walls here in Smash, this attack simply serves as an immensely powerful attack that can KO really early. And like in Guilty Gear, this move will push Baiken back slightly upon use, meaning it might even have potential as a horizontal recovery option. Finally, Baiken's down air is her jumping heavy slash, a downward stab from her katana that can either be used to land safely or cross up an opponent when jumping slash might overshoot. Despite looking fairly average as far as attacks go, this move's hitbox will stay active until Baiken touches the ground, and in terms of landing recovery, it's the quickest of Baiken's aerials by quite a decent margin, making her +3 once she touches the ground. However, this recovery can still be beaten out by grabs or perfect shield attempts, so while it is generally safe if your opponent doesn't expect it, being predictable is a great way to get yourself punished. Baiken will grab her opponent using her arm, all while performing a headbutt for her pummel. For her throws, Baiken will tap into some of her throw options from Guilty Gear, all while also utilizing brand new techniques created just for Smash. These throws are more for punishing a bad play from your opponent or creating some space, as throws in Guilty Gear rarely ever serve a purpose in a combo outside of the use of RC. Baiken's forward throw is her standard throw from Guilty Gear, having her knock out her opponent's balance and stab them through the back, all before she kicks them away. A fairly standard throw, this attack will deal decent damage and can potentially be used to set up an offstage kill, but at its core, this move is designed to get your opponent off of you, especially against characters where being too close isn't preferable. Baiken's up throw is Yushijin, a technique Baiken utilized in older Guilty Gear titles remade into a powerful throw option. With this, Baiken will launch a bladed weapon up from the ground, it hitting multiple times as it takes the opponent up into the air with it. In Guilty Gear, this move was mainly used to launch the opponent up into the air after a grounded hit, which led to pretty easy combos, so it's only fitting that it would be the closest thing Baiken has to a combo throw here in Smash, even if it will only work reliably at lower percents. Baiken's down throw is Yatsuzaki, a brand new attack that will have Baiken slash your opponent horizontally before cutting them down vertically, the force of the second slash bouncing them off the floor and up into the air. Normally, this throw's launch angle is far too awkward for Baiken to reliably land a follow-up attack unless the opponent is at very low percent, but when combined with RC, this can be one of Baiken's best ways to set up a kill confirm. Just be sure to keep in mind that Baiken's combo damage scales very poorly if a combo starts from a throw, so save your RC for when your opponent is already in kill range. Finally, Baiken's back throw is based on her aerial throw from the Guilty Gear series, having her tie up her opponent in rope before violently pulling the trap apart. Overall, this move's strength is about on par with her forward throw, but thanks to the throw angle, the player can RC cancel into Baiken's back air to deal some serious damage. Again, Baiken's throws on their own are only okay in terms of damage and knockback, but when mixed with access to RC, they can be very useful to her game plan. Like the fighting game character she is, Baiken's special moves in Smash are her most iconic attacks from her home franchise. And if you've ever played Guilty Gear in the past, chances are you know these moves all too well. Or maybe you don't, since everybody loves to not play this character. Starting off strong, Baiken's standard special is our iconic Tatami Gaish. Tatami Gaish! Scream it from the mountaintops because you're going to be hearing this name used a lot. With this, Baiken will stomp her foot down and cause a tatami mat to flip up from the ground, dealing damage and knocking any opponent hit by this attack up into the air. This move will hit twice, both while the mat springs up from the ground and while it falls over, the second hit dealing minimal damage but being a great way to hold your opponent in hit stun, but this is only the grounded version of this move. Yes, Tatami Gaish can be used in the air, and when performed, the tatami mat will fall through the air and deal damage to all opponents in its path towards the ground. Unlike the ground version, this form of Tatami Gaish counts as a projectile, meaning it can be reflected by opponents. But if played properly, chances are very high that Baiken will be too high up in the air to care or simply RC to either confirm a hit or mix the opponent up. Now, while Tatami Gaish is Baiken's regular standard special, there are a couple of extra attacks Baiken can perform when she has at least 50% of her tension gauge filled. Her overdrive techniques. For those of you unfamiliar with Guilty Gear, overdrives are the super attacks of the series, with each character usually having at least 2 on demand to use as either combo enders, round closers, or in the case of Strive, wall breaks. Up first is Surane Sanzu Watashi, Baiken's most iconic overdrive technique that she has been utilizing since the series' inception. With this, Baiken will perform a series of 3 powerful slashes, the final one launching the foe with heavy force and covering a wide range. During one-on-one matches, Baiken will play a special animation during both the move's startup and the final blow, a blood moon appearing in the background as it zooms in on the impact of the attack. Overall, this is an excellent move to use when you're looking to secure an easy kill, thanks especially to the fact that it's both invulnerable to throws and will be a guaranteed combo if the first slash lands. But if you space this attack poorly, you might be on the receiving end of a nasty counter. Secondly, there's Kenjuto, a new overdrive Baiken received in Strive that's designed to punish mistakes in the neutral or close out a combo that pushes the opponent out of Sanzu Watashi's range. With this, Baiken will pull out a massive gun and launch a firework bomb in a straight line, this bomb exploding either after contact with an opponent or once it travels a certain distance. This is Baiken's strongest ranged option, as the firework bomb has a surprising amount of priority over other projectiles. And with access to RC, this move can either be made safe or be made into a combo option. However, using this move when too close to your opponent might end up getting you punished, as Baiken can be grabbed before she fires the bomb, which is 50% of your tension gauge gone down the drain. Definitely not something you want. Overall, Baiken's overdrives are designed to deal damage and confirm kills, but the tension used on these moves is the same resource Baiken uses for RC, so it's up to the player to determine whether or not the damage is worth it. Baiken's side special is one of her best advancing tools in Guilty Gear, and while she might have lost access to it in Strive, it won't be forgotten here in Smash. Suzuran. This command dash will have Baiken rush forward in a combat-ready pose, all while a shamisen jingle plays. Normally, this move on its own does nothing but help Baiken cover ground, but it's what this move can convert into that makes it such a dangerous tool. Welcome to Mix-Up City, population Baiken, as Suzuran can convert itself into one of 5 different attacks. Pressing B without any directional input will have Baiken perform Sakura. Holding forward and pressing B will have her perform Rokonsogi. Holding up and B will have her perform Kuchinashi. Holding down and pressing B will have her perform Yashikatana. And pressing A will have her perform Mawari Kami. Starting with Sakura, this will have Baiken perform a reverse stab attack with her katana, dealing solid damage and knocking the opponent back on contact. This move's range and damage make it a rather safe attack option, and that's not even taking RC into consideration. But this move's main strength and smash comes from its shield pressure. Much like Ryu's collarbone breaker, this move can easily shatter shields if your opponent decides to block. And when mixed with RC's ability to make this shield poke safe, Baiken can absolutely bully her opponents into a dizzy state and big damage if properly executed. Next is Rokonsogi. This having Baiken perform a rushing slash that will launch the opponent away on hits. And if blocked, Baiken will slash through her opponent, essentially acting as a cross-up. Overall, this is a reliable follow-up that is reasonably safe on shield, but unlike Sakura, Rokonsogi suffers from a lack of invulnerability frames, meaning it can be potentially beaten by jabs. Next is Kuchinashi, a rising uppercut that is one of Baiken's main ways of pulling the opponent off the ground and up into the air for an easy air combo. This is Suzuran's fastest follow-up attack, and if used properly, this move can be one of the best jump counters in the game. However, like Rokonsogi, Kuchinashi lacks any invulnerability frames, so take care with your spacing. Next is Yashikatana, a very fast projectile option that is one of Baiken's best ways of annoying zoners as she tries to approach. Normally, this move's startup is very slow, but it has the advantage of being plus on block, making it hard to counter at mid to long range. While that's the case, Yashikatana's Fireball does not have a lot of knockback, meaning this move serves as more of a counter option than as a ranged pressure option. Finally, there's Mawari Kami, this being Suzuran's evasive option as Baiken wraps around her opponent, swapping sides while being briefly invulnerable to incoming damage. One could consider this like a long-range version of Baiken's regular roll, but unlike her regular roll, Baiken is vulnerable to grabs during the entirety of the move. As a result, it's best to not be too predictable with your attack, keeping your mix-up game strong. Now, as amazing as Suzuran's mix-up potential is, it's a move that Baiken can only use on the ground. For when side special is used in the air, it becomes a brand new move, and, depending on who you ask, far more deadly. Yozansen. With this, Baiken will perform a spinning slash around herself with a series of blades. This move being one of Baiken's strongest mix-up options thanks to not only Baiken's ability to combo into this move from any of her aerials, but with range so good that it makes Ridley's Nair blush. And if that weren't enough, it's a move that starts on frame 6. While parts of Baiken's kit have been either better or worse over the years, Yozansen has been an incredible attack ever since its inception, and if you're looking to learn this character, learn to use this move as one of your first things to get a hang of. For her recovery special, Baiken will utilize her iconic tether special from Guilty Gear, but what looks like a simple move at face value has just as much mix-up potential as Suzuran. Kabari. With this, Baiken will launch a large claw attached to a chain out of her empty sleeve, this claw latching onto a target before pulling them to Baiken, or, if it's a ledge, pulling Baiken to her target. While slightly slower than most tether recoveries, this move will have a longer range to compensate, along with it being reasonably safe on block thanks to a short cooldown and being completely disjointed. If used on the ground, Baiken can either launch the chain in a straight line or at an angle up into the air, with the version you get being dependent on whether the player holds the B button during the move's startup. Overall, this move's a great way to set up a hit confirm, especially mixed with Baiken's access to RC, but like Suzuran, Kabari is far more than it lets on at face value, as this move has 3 different follow-up attacks the player can use to catch their opponent off guard. However, what makes Kabari's follow-ups unique is that Baiken doesn't need to land a hit in order to use these attacks, with these moves being Himawari, Tetsuzansen, and Rokonsogi. Himawari can be performed by inputting B during Kabari's active frames, this move having Baiken rush forward at incredible speed and grab her opponent, all before jumping and slamming them into the ground with heavy force. This move's damage is quite substantial, but so is its startup time, so if you want to land this move, you're going to want to be unpredictable, because if you miss, this, Baiken will perform a very long recovery animation and essentially paint herself as an easy punish target for any move that starts with less than 53 frames. If it does land, however, you'll be granted a huge amount of burst damage and a launch angle that'll leave them open to even more damage via your aerial combo potential. Next is Tetsu Zansen, which can be performed by inputting up and B while Kabari is active. Baiken will release a rising wave of ki to launch your foe upwards, this move being the least risky follow-up attack the player can perform out of Kabari. Thanks to its ability to build a great amount of meter and lead to aerial combos, Tetsu Zansen is a great move when it manages to land, but if spaced poorly, this move can lose to jabs and leave Baiken in a bad place. Meanwhile, Kabari's version of Rokonsogi will work nearly identically to the version used with Suzerain, with the only notable differences being that it's slightly safer on shield while being active for a slightly shorter amount of time. Rokonsogi will also have the same input on Kabari as it does for Suzerain, that being forward and B, so it'll be easy to memorize. For her down special, Baiken will perform what could be considered one of her defining character features in every Guilty Gear before Strive, a move that can either command respect from your opponent or be a one-way ticket to a lost match if used incorrectly. Azami. With this, Baiken will hold up her blade in a defensive stance, and if an opponent attacks her in this state, she'll parry their attack, taking no damage in the process. Now, this might sound a lot like the counterattacks of characters like Marth and Incineroar, but Azami itself doesn't automatically counter, only deflect incoming damage. And unlike your typical counter, Azami starts on frame 1 and can be held to guarantee a successful parry. On top of that, Azami can even be used while jumping in the air, meaning that Baiken can use this attack in order to stop her opponent from getting back to the ledge. While that might sound enticing, Azami's major weakness comes from its notable cooldown. On top of that, Azami cannot parry projectiles, all while also being highly susceptible to grabs, so the last thing you want to be with this move is predictable. Thankfully, Azami can perform follow-up attacks just like Suzerain and Kabari. As a matter of fact, Azami's follow-up options on the ground are the exact same as Suzerain's. However, Azami has two unique follow-up options that can only be performed if Baiken parries an attack in the air, with A causing Baiken to perform Tsubaki, while B will have her perform Kikyo. Tsubaki is a powerful spinning slash that will knock foes away from Baiken on contact, and when it comes to Guilty Gear, it's often considered one of the main reasons why Air Azami is a stronger option than Grounded Azami, mainly thanks to its blend of speed and reach that can outpace any of Azami's grounded attack options. This move's only real downside is its lack of a downward hitbox, meaning that it might whiff if used to deflect anti-air options. But thankfully, Kikyo might be able to help you out there. Kikyo is a powerful fastfall attack that, for the most part, suffers from a lot of the same issues that fastfall aerials suffer from in Smash Bros., including being slow to start up, easy to punish, and being very unsafe on shield. But on hit, this attack will spike in the opponent hit and maintain this effect until Baiken touches the ground. Overall, Tsubaki outclasses Kikyo in a lot of different exchanges, but the stall and fall effect of this move might catch an unruly opponent throwing out unsafe buttons. Lastly, there's the final smash. And since she's a character from Guilty Gear, Baiken will utilize one of her series' staples. I'll let this move speak for itself. Garyo Tensei, a move that guarantees death once Baiken's initial dash makes contact with the closest opponent. But to keep its strength in check, she can only hit a single opponent at a time with this move. However, what's amazing about this final smash is Baiken's ability to combo into it, much like she can in her home franchise. And nothing feels more satisfying than a combo that is a guaranteed stock closer. Baiken's victory theme is her instant kill theme from Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2, featuring 100% more shamisen than any other character in the game. It'll even become extended if Baiken wins with her final smash. Victory animation number 1 will have Baiken perform her victory animation from Guilty Gear Xrd, walking off into the dead of night as her narrator plays her out. Victory animation number 2 will have Baiken perform her victory animation from Guilty Gear Strive, spitting a clover out of her mouth before cleaving it to pieces, all while surrounded by a myriad of katanas. Like her Xrd victory animation, Baiken will be accompanied by her own personal narrator. Finally, victory animation number 3 will only appear when Baiken wins a match using her final smash, this being the round victory that plays when you win using her instant kill.
まだ立つのか？別にいいけどよ。次は視線になるぞ。Baiken win!
Taunt number 1 will have Baiken sit on the ground, all while she berates her opponent. This, along with the rest of her taunts, are taunts she can perform in Guilty Gear Xrd and Strive. Taunt number 2 will have Baiken let out a hearty laugh, berating her opponent in the process. The dialogue of this taunt will also change per use, so aside from the rare instance of seeing Baiken smile, it's worth using. Finally, taunt number 3 will have Baiken take a sip from her jug, all before holding it out in front of her. What is she drinking? Don't question it. If you don't question it, you won't have to worry about an age rating. Baiken's colors will reference the various colors she has in Guilty Gear Strive, all while maintaining her appearance from both Strive and Xrd. Color number 1 is her standard appearance, featuring a white and black kimono, pink tattoos, and salmon-colored hair. Color number 2 is Baiken's third color from Strive, changing her kimono to red and black while her hair becomes a platinum blonde. Baiken's tattoos will also change to a jet black. Color number 3 is Baiken's sixth color from Strive, changing her kimono to a blend of white and blue while her hair becomes a striking blonde. Her tattoos will also change to a striking red. Color number 4 is Baiken's fourth color from Strive, darkening her skin as her hair and kimono become a golden yellow. Her tattoos will also change to a dark blue. Color number 5 is Baiken's fifth color from Strive, giving her orange hair and slightly darkening her skin while her kimono becomes a blend of green and white. Her tattoos will also change to a minty green. Color number 6 is Baiken's seventh color from Strive, her kimono becoming a blend of purple and white while her hair becomes a very light shade of violet. Color number 7 is Baiken's ninth color from Strive, darkening her skin and giving her brown hair as her kimono becomes a blend of orange and black. Finally, color number 8 is Baiken's 10th color from Strive, turning her hair and kimono a jet black while her tattoos become a crimson red. The white in Baiken's coat will also change to a golden yellow, as will her eyes. As it might be obvious to guess, since I've covered Soul in the past, I'm a huge advocate of more fighting game franchises being added to Smash Bros., especially since fighting game characters tend to be some of the most in-depth and interesting characters to play. We already have Ryu from Street Fighter, Kazuya from Tekken, and Terry from Fatal Fury, and when it comes to fighting game franchise notoriety, I feel Guilty Gear is next in line to get a chance to join in on the battle. Now, when it comes to who they should choose, most people would instantly point to Soul, seeing as he's the protagonist and one of the series' most iconic characters. However, in the past couple of years since I did Soul's video, I'm starting to feel that there might be someone better, and that someone is Baiken. Yes, Soul is the protagonist, but Baiken is so popular that it's starting to overshadow the popularity of not only the other characters in the game, but even Guilty Gear itself. And it's not hard to understand why. She's just a really cool character that people really like to watch. But even with all of this said, I do think that Soul would make it into Smash before her, if simply for the fact that he is the face of Guilty Gear. Baiken would definitely be the second character they add though. That's a hill I'll gladly die on. If you like what you saw, be sure to like, subscribe, and press that little bell icon so that you never miss a future upload. If you want to keep an eye on what's coming next, be sure to follow me on Twitter. If you really want to support the channel, you'll soon be able to become a member to gain access to exclusive updates, emotes, and more. That's all I have for you today, so until the next time I see you, be sure to stay safe, take care, and remember to have a good one.